Hello everyone and welcome back to another video where today we're going to play a game called Gone Home.
Hi guys.
We have Cole here, he's just gonna say hi for a minute. He might watch along, I'm not sure what he wants to do. I think this is a single player game, I have no clue what it's about. I just saw it on Epic Games for free, grab that shit up and we're gonna play. So if you hear me slurping time to time, that's the soda. Just to get a point. You know, when I want to make a point, I'll just go. Just for fun. Alright, new game. Look around using the mouth, arrow keys, or WASD to walk. Modifiers and commentary. All lights start on for those who don't like the dark. No. There will be no in-game map to guide you. Unlock all doors. Starts unlocked. Explore the house and the story in any order. Disable voice diaries. No. Enable commentary. Icons appear throughout the house, allowing you to hear commentary from the game developers. And contributors. No, not compatible with disabled voice diaries. The Fulbright Company presents. Dun dun dun!
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in
Okay.
at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Like, really
Shuttle.
seriously, you don't have to. Okay, so, love you. See you
That
soon.
looks like a
Bye.
wheat symbol. Or a flower.
I think it's a horror game.
It might be a horror game.
Yeah, because it's the same stuff over here, like images or something.
June 7th, 1995, 1:15 a.m. It's almost 3 a.m., guys. So there's a nice little front porch that's covered. Catherine. So I'm Caitlin Greenbrier. We're in Portland, 270, June 6, 1995. So my name is Caitlin Greenbrier. Open door. Steve, welcome.
Hi, I'm Steve Gaynor. I'm the co-founder of the
Welcome to
Fulbright
Commentary,
Company. We made Gone Home. I was the writer and designer, and thank you for taking a look at our commentary mode. Whenever you find an icon like the one you just clicked on, you can find out a little bit more about the game. I want to thank everybody who's added commentary. Yanman and Carla, my co-founders of the company, Kate Craig, our 3D artist, Chris Remo, our composer, Sarah Grayson, the voice of Sam Greenbrier, and Corin Tucker, the lead singer of Heavens to Betsy and Slater Kinney and other awesome bands.
Okay.
So thank you, everybody, and enjoy commentary mode.
That's commentary mode. Okay. Katie, wait, I thought my name was Kate then. Yeah, it's Caitlin. They probably call me Katie. Katie, I'm sorry I can't be there to see you, but it's impossible. But it is impossible. Please, please don't go digging around trying to find out where I am. I don't want anyone, Mom and Dad, to know. Mom and Dad. We'll see each other again someday. Don't be worried, I love you, Sam. What's going on with Sam? The door is locked. The lights are on. Right mouse button or left shift. Oh, so I can actually examine it. Put back. Or I could just throw it on the ground. Put it back. House key.
So Christmas Duck. Christmas Duck is a fan favorite. He's kind of a mascot, I guess, and I think that's partly because it's a weird concept, a Christmas duck, and partly because it's like the first unique thing that you encounter in the game. It's kind of personified. He's like a little character. But the thing is,
cool.
Christmas Duck was not planned. When we were starting the project, we didn't have a 3D modeler because Kate came on a couple months after we started, and we needed a bunch of 3D models. And so I was just going through the Unity asset store. So I was going through the list and saw this Christmas duck, and I was like, "What is that?" Okay, well, and I grabbed it, and we used it as like a test object just to set up the system where you can grab stuff and carry it around. And then I ended up saying, "All right, we got this Christmas duck, I'll hide the key under it." And instead of replacing the free model with a totally different thing, just made a real version of it, and Carla modeled it, and Kate textured it, and we kept him in the game, and we're glad, because he's everybody's little friend. Good old Christmas duck.
I'm gonna take Christmas duck with me. Get your head out of the way, Christmas duck. $5.99. $5.99. $6 we paid for this little guy. Unlocked door. Maybe I should have kept lights on.
I should have told you about the show.
Stay here, Christmas duck. Read inconvenience. Terrence Greenbarrow. 1 Able Hill. Kitchen. Boxes master bed. So this is just a list. Subtotal $1,000, $679.
Dear Katie,
Oh shit.
so much has changed, even just since you've been away. We moved into this house. I'm in a new school, and my big sister being gone for a year doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't feel real, but I'm not gonna let it faze me. I used to tell you everything, and if I can't do it in person, because you're off gallivanting around who knows where, I'll tell it to this journal, just like I was talking to you.
At the new house, added to backpack. Grab the toilet paper. Gonna need that. That's valuable. Oh, they got hidden toilet paper. Hand soap. Sparkling green hand soap. Green apple. I'm gonna just stay in here. Examine magazine. Stephen King. Ah, it's a Stephen King thing. Ah, I should have left lights on. Come here, ducky. I'm gonna keep you on. I like Skull better. Okay. I really tried opening that door, huh? Good old Christmas duck. Number 1. Regionals track and field finals. Girls 100 First race, Jamie. Carol Jones, we'll see. Regional track field, so they're like track. Oh, this was mine.
This is our land.
Eco and Mexico, so made in Mexico. Good old Christmas duck. I'll leave you by the front door. Come here, Skull. Turn on there. Skull, you could stay here.
Yeah, the biggest purpose of the card was, yeah, to say, oh, Sam is 17, you know, if you look for this thing. But there's so much,
Have a
you
dog
need so much
bone.
handwriting
Cool 17th
in
birthday.
the game, especially for like one-off characters that you don't see their handwriting more than once. And we knew we needed a birthday card from some member of Sam's more extended family that you were never going to hear from again. And so I was like, okay, it could be her uncle. And as an Easter egg, kind of like wink and nod thing, like, we're fans of, you know, the Looking Glass legacy of games and Deus Ex and Dishonored, and so I got in contact with Harvey Smith, who is the lead designer of Deus Ex and the co-creative lead of Dishonored, and asked if he would just write on a piece of paper, "Happy Birthday, Sam," from Uncle Harvey, and he just took a picture with his cell phone and
Yeah, like 5 minutes after you asked him, it was amazing. He was just like, "Yes, I will do this immediately."
yeah,
It was the best.
I think he took a picture with his cell phone and it was really cool. Harvey's a great guy and I love his games, and we're, you know, super honored to
Yeah,
have
Harvey.
his signature in the hub of the Greenbrier house.
Hell yeah.
The Goodfellow High School jacket and the logo generally is a reference to the logo for Minerva's Den, the the section of Rapture
Uncle
that
Harvey.
that DLC takes place in, that we worked on together. But we didn't want to make it look exactly like the owl logo from that game. We wanted it to be, you know, an homage or a reference or whatever.
Yeah, so we decided that since this is a Pacific Northwest school and town and setting, that we would go for some native style representation. And let's see.
Well, actually, we were struggling with it for a little
Yeah.
while because we wanted. At first, I was saying, just make it look like a very, you know, 90s looking school mascot logo illustration that's just cheap. That maybe one of the.
Oh man, mom handwriting. Oh man, mom handwriting. We went through a lot of different
Neighborhood
moms for
called.
handwriting.
He wants to come
A
see
lot of
this in
different
the new
moms
house.
contributed
Call him back.
handwriting.
Mom
At
and
first,
Daniel is a total
let's see,
weirdo.
how did we do?
The only
how did we
reason
do
I
it
ever
first? I think I just did it, and
having
it wasn't
out
great.
with him in the first.
And then we
First
had Emily
place
do
is
it,
he had the Nintendo
but
when
her handwriting was
we were little.
used so heavily in other parts of the game that we had to find someone else. And I think we actually had Yanaman try to do it for a while before he was Dad's handwriting. And then we got Yanaman's mom, and she was ideal for it. Really good mom handwriting. Yeah.
Okay, let's stop listening to these because
Sam. Sam. Hello. Sam. Sam, where are you? Really? I need to talk to you. Please be there.
this is generally creeping the fuck out of me.
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Like, really seriously, you don't have to. Okay, so love you. See you soon. Bye.
Alright. Oh god.
Hi, I'm Chris Remo, the composer on Gone Home. In my commentary tracks, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what went into creating the original music soundtrack for the game. Gone Home is an unusual game, musically speaking, in that it consists of two distinct music soundtracks. The one of those probably more frequently commented on is the collection of licensed Riot Girl songs that the player finds in Sam's cassette tapes strewn around the house. The other one is the original music that accompanies the player's undirected exploration of the house and underscores almost every one of Sam's audio diary recordings. When Steve first asked me to do music for Gone Home, I was really excited about it, but there are almost no parameters for what that meant in terms of format or scope.
Again, welcome.
Having played an early build of the game, I started by just...
Oh my god. You are so lucky you finished high school before we moved into this house. So, it's the first day of school, and there I am, introducing myself to the class, and I say that I just moved into the house on Arbor Hill. All of a sudden, every kid in the room turns and just stares like I suddenly transformed into a mutant. I just stood there, wishing pretty hard for a rewind button. Because now maybe nobody knows my name, but they all know who I am. The Psycho House girl. Great.
This is a severe weather warning. The Northwest Weather Service.
My name is Sarah Grayson, and I do the voice of Sam Greenbrier in Gone Home. Currently based out of Portland, Oregon, so right around where the Fulbright Company is from, which is part of, I guess, how this all came to be. I started doing voiceover work probably about 4 or 5 years ago. It's been a bit of an on and off journey, because I also have had regular 9-to-5 jobs that whole time.
I'm not reading this.
So I always get excited when I see video game auditions come across, because it's always been something that I wanted to do, and really excites me because I'm a video game fan myself. So there was an audition that came across that at the time was entitled Dear Diary, and it had this wonderful description about being this sort of 16, 17-year-old girl. Not too much detail about her, just that she was new to her school, new to this place she was living, and her sister had moved away. So she was sort of writing out her thoughts as if she was talking to her sister. So, you know that feeling where the first moment you see someone, it's like they have a big gold star around them, and you have to get to know them? Well, there's this girl. I think she's a senior. She's usually dressed kind of punk. But sometimes I see her in this, army uniform. She's always drawing in this notebook, looking so intense. I had no idea how I would ever, have an excuse to talk to her. Till I noticed she and her friends hang out and play Street Fighter at the 7-Eleven every day after school.
Hell yeah. Rock. That metal. That better not be copyrighted. Screw it.
When you live in one place your whole life, your next door neighbor is kind of like your default friend. And Daniel only got weirder over the years. So moving away has been a good excuse to, not see him anymore. But he did always have the good Nintendo games. Maybe I'll give him a call.
Somehow I always knew that someday we'd be through. Now that it's happened, I just can't believe it.
I ain't reading that.
I've done the best I could to keep from feeling blue. Can't get you off my mind. What am I gonna
Voodoo, mildew, and shandu.
do? Why, Daddy,
I'm gonna just grab this
I'm
and
right here looking at you.
No, I
honey.
want
If it ain't me, it's my shadow.
Do you think I sent you far away
I ain't been nowhere.
from me? I thought you'd stay away from me.
Try to cut
But
me.
hopelessly you got me back. You left your voodoo all around.
I left my trunk in town.
I got a need for you.
Yeah,
Thought I killed the craze
Dad's second
for
book,
you.
I hear you.
I dug my heart a grave
the
for you. Your
academical
kisses keep on haunting me.
Terrence
Memories
L.
won't let me
Greenbrier.
Yeah.
I got a need for you.
I wish you had a weed for me.
Message from the future said President's life, and then there will be
Why
another
must
attempt at
I
communication
think
today.
about you?
Yeah, I'd like to inform you
Oh,
that
Daddy,
unfortunately we're not
tell
going to
me
be
why
able to
can't I
publish the
live
follow-up, The Accident.
Without
Despite the
you
low sales of The
right
Accident, we
here,
went ahead with the
running
publication of the book in hopes that
no
Russell series catching
place
on, however, sales of the second book, in fact, low of those first, then the stewardship of the series must end here. It's been a pleasure working as your publisher, and we wish you and John Russell the best in the future and endeavors.
I'm gonna take your pay away.
Then play me
So
some
no one really
trumpet
liked
in
the
your
books.
original way.
This was his, like, reading room. It's Cherry Stone. I don't like this at all.
Hello, my name is Kate Craig, and I was creating a lot of the environment assets for the game. Not all of them, some of them I had help with,
Come on, Christmas
which I'll
Talk.
touch on a little later, but most of the stuff like the walls and the floors, some of the larger pieces of furniture were my doing, and I'm going to be talking about some of the environmental storytelling aspects in Gone Home. I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention the work that my wife Emily Carroll did on the project. She did the house title image that we've used for our wallpapers and for the start screen of the game. She did the loading cassette tape, and she did the maps in the house. And actually, Carla made a font out of her handwriting because we wanted something that was just a little bit spooky, maybe a little ominous, but something that sort of suited the tone of the game.
Shanty Greenbrier.
And I was really glad to be working with her, and I was really glad that the other guys were too. We had a really good
Senior
time.
convention and smoke with
And people have responded quite positively to her
My
titles,
family
which
is
is
big.
something that I really appreciate, and I know she does too.
Pack of cards. Pens. Hey, Cone, don't mind if I do. Hey, it's colored. Personal reading calendar. Feel like I'm gonna get jump scared. Okay.
Around here, you will find some of Sam's Super Nintendo cartridges that she left behind. Obviously, for legal reasons, we couldn't put real games in, and so we conscripted a few of our friends in the industry who are really talented artists to make cool label art for fake Nintendo games that we came up with.
It's so true. The first one was Super Spitfire, and that was by Rachel Norris, who is a cool
Lightning
artist.
Kick, Helicopter Kick.
What is it? The NYU?
The NYU Game Center. She's done a bunch of like
So cheats.
posters and other art for them.
And then the next one was Adventures the Cat Returns, which is, yeah, it's sort of a...
It's a mascot platformer. It's a Bubsy-esque Tood having cat.
Oh yeah, but it's a regular cat. It's not a bald cat.
Yeah, it's a regular cat that rides
looks-
a motorcycle towards an explosion.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lee Petty is the art director at Double Fine and worked on Brutal Legend, and I think he led up Stacking, and yeah, he was nice enough
Johnny
to spend some of his
Crystal.
free time making the label for Adventures The Cat Returns.
Yeah, we ran into him at GDC, and he offered to help us out, and we were all like, ooh.
We were like, oh, you didn't think we'd take you up on that offer, did you? Draw us a cat.
Yeah, he regretted the error of his ways. And then the third one is Journey of Crystal, which is sort of a JRPG beast, and that was done by Gen Z.
Yeah,
It's
Okay.
Staggy.
she's the art director at Supergiant. She did
the code I was
pretty- all
putting
of
in
the
is
art
this.
in
I want
Bastion,
to.
Okay,
and is working on Transistor. I know we had some people say that they could tell that it was her art because it has such a signature look,
It's
you know,
pretty distinctive.
to how she does things. So it was really cool and really exciting to have these really talented people from other studios that are inspirations to us contribute their unique art to the game. So these are stereoscopic?
Stereogram?
Yeah, these are stereograms.
That's your
Yeah,
number.
That's the
stereogrammatic.
yeah stereograms, popularized by the Magic Eye brand of images from the 80s and 90s. These really work. Like if you cross your eyes and you can do a Magic Eye image, you can see what's in these. Spoilers, they are
Well, as I recall, there's a cool shark.
and
I don't remember what the other one
Carla.
is. What?
It's a big heart.
Okay, it's hard for me to do those things.
And that's true for a lot of people. So the
Dry
two
Creek
two
Road.
instances of people not being able to see those images are they just can't do them, which a lot of people just can't do them, or they were born in the late 90s or after the 90s and played our game and didn't
Oh,
know
yeah.
what the hell these things were.
Yeah, they're like, what is this weird static shit? Yeah.
Well, I thought
So
it was
good.
like we got some messages that were like, I thought it was just a weird drawing.
So good.
So, yes, as you get older, you can't hear really high-pitched sounds anymore, and you know what Magic Eyes are still.
It's the circle of life.
So it says something here. It's pretty much what they just said. So these say something. I don't think these say anything.
I was one of the hosts of the Idle Thumbs video game podcast for a year or
This is
two,
my
and
dad
I
building,
go on
wanna
there
go
and
for a
every once in a
store.
while those guys are my friends. And
1965.
I didn't want to put Idle Thumbs references all over the game, but I did want to have Idle Thumbs references in the game, so we localized them entirely to this one piece of paper. So almost everything on here is an Idle Thumbs reference, and specifically to a weird exchange that we had about Will Wright's GDC talk in like 2008,
Oh, those 150.
where he didn't want everybody to show up and crowd the place, so he gave his speaker name as Phaedrus, and then did a talk about a bunch of crazy stuff, including the idea of rocket mail, which was going to be like done by it was pitched by the U.S. Postal Service in the 50s and stuff. So, and then the
1967,
thing on the
1994.
podcast was about how Phaedrus had a little brother, and so anyway, whatever. The brother, of course, it's a Phaedrus, and you can't hardly see the icon in the back because it's obscured, but there's this 50s rocket icon in the back that's like the logo. I was one of the hosts of the Idle Thumbs video game podcast for a year or two, and I, go on there, and every once in a while, those guys are my friends. And I didn't want to put Idle Thumbs references all over the game, but I did want to have Idle Thumbs references in the game, so we localized them entirely to this one piece of paper. So almost everything on here is an Idle Thumbs reference, and specifically to a weird exchange that we had about Will Wright's GDC talk in like 2008, where he didn't want everybody to show up and crowd the place, so he gave his speaker name as Phaedrus, and then did a talk about a bunch of crazy stuff, including the idea of rocket mail, which was going to be like done by it was pitched by the U.S. Postal Service in the 50s and stuff. So, and then the thing on the podcast was about how Phaedrus had a little brother, and so anyway, whatever. The brother, of course, it's a Phaedrus, and you can't hardly see the icon in the back because it's obscured, but there's this 50s rocket icon in the back that's like the logo of Phaedrus Motors, and then also it's the reference that Will Wright was making, and that is a secondary reference here because it's a motorcycle thing, is that in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, the book, the author is having kind of an ongoing exchange with this character of from Greek history called Phaedrus. Motorcycles and blah blah blah. So it's a big knot of obnoxious references to lots of different
Case
stupid
blue
things.
ribbon was sent to the guidance counselor's office. The option to turn a shirt inside out, change it into a shirt from her gym locker, or be suspended for the rest of the day. Shows suspension. Her father was called, but there was no answer and no answering machine. Must return this form tomorrow, signed by her father. She never turned it in. So she got in trouble. Misfits.
We're so cool, yeah. Yeah, we're so cool. We're so cool, yeah. Fuck you too, cool schmuck.
So these are stereoscopic? Yeah, these are stereograms.
Yeah,
That's the
stereogrammatic.
Yeah, stereograms, popularized by the Magic Eye brand of images from the 80s and 90s. These really work. Like if you cross your eyes and you can do a Magic Eye image, you can see what's in these. Spoilers, they are.
Well, as you recall, there's a cool shark.
And
I don't know what
Carla.
What?
It's a big heart.
Okay, it's hard for me to do those things.
And that's true for a lot of people. So the two instances of people not being able to see those images are they just can't do them, which a lot of people just can't do them, or they were born in the late 90s or after the 90s and played our game and didn't know what the hell these things were.
Yeah, like, what is this weird static shit? Yeah.
Well, I thought it was like we got some messages that were like, I thought it was just a weird drawing.
So good.
So, yes, as you get older, you can't hear really high-pitched sounds anymore, and you know what Magic Eyes are still.
It's the circle of life.
Wear goggles and rubber gloves when handling anything in this room. I'm not gonna read these. And another bathroom. Brush my teeth. Ooh.
A lot of Gone Home is about pointless interactivity that is sort of things being interactive for the sake of them being interactive, but it really comes from our inspirations of immersive sims like System Shock and Bioshock and
blood.
Thief, where
Oh, it's not blood
Okay.
hair. It's red hair dye.
Lonnie brought her hair dye over today. She said, I need to fix these roots. Think you could help? Dyeing hair is weirdly intimate. I don't know if I've touched someone else's scalp before. It's pretty intimate, right? It felt intimate. We looked into the mirror together after, and I expected her to say something about how it looked crappy or good or whatever. But that's when she said, You're so beautiful. And she was looking at me. Right in that moment, I wanted to say something, but I waited. And the moment was gone.
Oh. Doing the roots, that is the best way.
I mean, I've always, one of the most comforting things in the world to me is having somebody, like, brush my hair or stroke my head. Like my mom, when I wasn't feeling well, I could lie down in her lap, she would just brush my hair. And it would always make me feel better. Like, the weirdest way, I couldn't figure out why, but it just seemed like this friendly connection to somebody that it is, like she says, it is strangely intimate in a way that I'd not really, I guess, put into words until reading that part of the script. Where that's what I was thinking of, was like that connection, that sort of human touch, that it's something so friendly and so loving that you can do. And that whole idea of like touching someone's scalp being so intimate.
Looks like
just,
blood in the bathtub.
it just made me think of that. Just those wonderful little moments where
It's kind of
just a touch
It's just
can be so much
Ow.
more.
That's how it all is. It's not even touching the bathtub. I'm gonna get jump scared and I'm gonna shit myself. Dear Mom and Dad, Sam and Sam, something, 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 something. There we are. Holy Bible. I don't like that they keep giving me Bibles. Examine business card. Oh, boff.
The life cycle of the condom.
That's not a real thing, Steve.
The life cycle of the condom.
All right.
By Carla Zamanja.
Is as follows. Initially, the condom was a separate plot point. It was an actual plot point. We gave it to Lonnie, and we had Sam find it in Lonnie's purse, and it made Sam worried about what the hell she was doing with it, etc. And that was sort of a wedge to drive them apart when that was the storyline, which it no longer is. And because we decided we hated it. But I had already made the condom asset, which I'm actually really proud of. I really like that condom. It's really good. Also, I think Nero is a really good brand for a condom. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a play on Trojan and everything, but
yeah,
it works.
obviously.
And
But it's, it's the whole, like, notably decadent,
Right,
it's like,
yeah.
it's anyway, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of this thing.
and the,
So
the specular on it looks really nice.
it does look good. I don't know. So we had this, extra asset lying around, and and we were like, we were all, oh, it's a shame that it's going to waste, but whatever. Sometimes things don't get used. And then we remembered the horror of digging around in your parents' drawers and finding their condoms and stuff and being just utterly fucking horrified. And we decided we would give that to you, the player.
So there's a lot less density in the house than there would be in a real house. Like, if you look around your house, there's just junk piled everywhere, probably.
Maybe
like,
it's just our house.
I think it's most house.
Oh, you're right.
But, so, you know, our strategy was you either fully invest in something and, you know, put, like, a plausible representation of this aspect of a room in, or
Okay.
you just don't put it in at all.
This
And
game,
the player
if
will
they
fill
were
in the
gonna do
gaps
something
between,
like
like,
put
oh,
the
these are all the
condom
things
in
that
the
represent the
sister's
kind of room
purse
I'm
to make
supposed
the
to
main
be in, and
character
it
away.
doesn't jump
But
out
they
at me
ended up
that there's
canceling
no
that part
toilet
altogether,
plungers in
so
the
they threw the
bathroom or
condom in the
whatever.
house, so-
But the biggest instance
So
of
now you have a
this
condom.
that I think actually totally worked, because no one has ever called it
Yeah, I
out,
know.
is, surprise, think about it, there are no shoes in this house. Ta-da!
Where's your brain now?
and I don't think anybody's noticed it, and I think
Yeah.
it's because if we had put one pair of shoes or two pairs of shoes, people would have said, where are all the rest of the shoes?
Right.
But really, to have a plausible house, Mom would have to have 10 pairs of shoes and her work boots, and Dad would need to have some tennis shoes and some work shoes, and so on and so forth. So we just said, there aren't going to be any shoes, and we hope nobody notices. Almost none of the events, the little events in the game, are scripted as far as like triggering when you do something specific.
Oh,
So
those ghosts.
all of the thunder and lightning and the creaky noises in the house, they're all just randomized on timers. The only like scripted thing is in the secret passageway. When you look at the crucifix, there's scripting that detects that you did that, and then it causes the light to pop, which is my one indulgence of like messing with the player. But we've had a lot of people play the game and say, you know, oh, the way you scripted it so that right when I walked into the TV room there was that big thunder and lightning strike, like that was really spooky, or you know, I walked through that one door and then you played that sound behind me, and it's like it's awesome that the combination of all the different kind of like significant actions you can do in the game,
Right.
like crossing into a new room or opening a door or this, that, or the other thing, and the randomization of stuff can make it seem like the random elements have extra significance to them, but in fact it's like you just got lucky, basically.
Yeah, it's total apophenia, because like, yeah, it's just because there's enough random things going on, and you can do enough things that eventually some of them are going to line up,
Yeah.
which is, you know, cool.
Alright, so get ready for the creepy.
Here we have Fresh Magazine, which is a synthesis and pastiche of Sassy Magazine, which if you haven't looked at it, or if it wasn't, you know, something that you cared about in the early 90s, it was very feminist and, you know, strongly individualist, and actually gave good advice. It was actually really good. Anyway, so yeah, this is the type treatment, the super grungy type treatment is totally indicative. That's how it used to be. Oh yeah, and amusingly, of course, our cover model is Rachel, Steve's wife. I had to make her put on this awful light pink lipstick and do the 90s-ist stuff imaginable. And she did it.
It was your idea to put a braid in the front of her bangs?
Yes.
Yeah, that seems like... Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Sam's duck one, do not enter if red lights are on. What am I supposed to be doing? Mittens is dead. Got Dad's second book. Gosh, Dad. Timberland. Aha. Mess fest.
At Todd's brother's place after the...
Inside of this file folder, you find the first combination code in the game. This code goes to Dad's locked filing cabinet, and it's 0451, which is a bit of a tradition / in-joke amongst... I mean, it's not really an in-joke. It's just an internal reference amongst this lineage of games that hark back to immersive sims that are kind of first-person exploration games that started with Ultima Underworld and System Shock, and 451 was the the first key code in System Shock, and then inside of this file folder, you find the first combination code in the game. This code goes to Dad's locked filing cabinet, and it's 0451, which is a bit of a tradition / in-joke amongst. It's not really an in-joke. It's just an internal reference amongst this lineage of games that hark back to immersive sims that are kind of first-person exploration games. One of our favorite movies is The Apartment, which was directed by Billy Wilder, and it starred Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon, and it's from like 1960, and it's basically what Mad Men is, except actually from that time.
Yeah.
It's super good, and there's this weird, like, kind of humorous vocal tick that some of the executives in the movie have, where they will refer to something like, they'll say like, "We're doing quite well dividends wise," or something, and Shirley MacLaine's character is named, her last name is Kubelik, and one of the executives at different times says something like, "So how are you getting along Kubelik wise?" So anyway, super deeply buried Easter egg reference in joke. We made the law firm Kubelik and Wise that prepared Oscar's will, just as a little wink and nod, a little hardcore Fenton.
Quite Steve.
But yeah, The Apartment, you should watch it.
It's damn worth it. It's totally worth your time. It's a really good movie.
On Laserdisc.
Yeah.
So these are stereoscopic? Yeah, these are stereograms.
Yeah,
That's the
stereogrammatic.
Yeah, stereograms, popularized by the Magic Eye brand of images from the 80s and 90s. These really work. Like, if you cross your eyes and you can do a Magic Eye image, you can see what's in these. Spoilers, they are.
Well, as I recall, there's a cool shark.
And
I don't remember what the other one is.
Carla.
What?
It's a big heart.
Okay, it's hard for me to do those things.
And that's true for a lot of people. So the two instances of people not being able to see those images are they just can't do them, which a lot of people just can't do them, or they were born in the late 90s or after the 90s and played our game and didn't know what the hell these things were.
Yeah, they're like, what is this weird static shit? Yeah.
Well, I thought it was like, we got some messages that were like, I thought it was just a weird drawing.
So good.
So, yes, as you get older, you can't hear really high-pitched sounds anymore, and you know what Magic Eyes are still.
It's the circle of life.
Hi, Lonnie. 2 cats on a motorcycle. Oh. Nine 0-2-1-0. 9-0-2-0. Background to make it even better, so I should just stick to writing my How did you know they were about to be abducted by? I'm looking at Mr. Fish right now. I feel like he would probably have lots of cats. Also, like his secret shame is that he watches religious. I can't read any of this. He said he doesn't have cats, and he also that he never watched. But I could see his eyes for mine. Try it. Gone home combinations. Alright. Zero 05. Ha.
Yeah, I ended up being pretty happy with this. This is the only picture of Lonnie that we had for a really long.
Lonnie came over today, but everything was different. She was sitting at my desk chair, and she wouldn't look at me. Finally, I asked her what was going on. She said she felt like she'd done something wrong that night in the city. Like I must think... But I said no. There was nothing wrong. I just wanted to say... But I couldn't find the words. I felt like I was gonna cry, but I wasn't sad. She got up and sat next to me on the bed. I looked at her. Lonnie, do you think you could ever... And that's when she kissed me.
Sam's room bathroom. Zelani kissed her. So I'm just trying to figure out the story of what happened. Dad's office is the foil. So there was a panel here. Okay, so there's the thing. Private, do not leave. It's peered down, allergy, no, flung out, disabled, no.
This is where you find the first half of Sam's locker, or I guess it's actually the second half of Sam's locker combo as far as what the piece of paper is. But at first, there were the locker combination sheet was torn into 3 pieces. So you had 1 digit on each of them, and it was actually right before we sent out our IGF build to the judges. It was the night before, and Carla came down to the basement, and she was like, at 3 o'clock in the morning last night, I woke up in bed just being like, oh, we can't have it in 3 pieces, that's way too gamey. Well, that's bad, we have to fix that. And
I forgot about that.
And you were absolutely right. And you've had a couple of those being woken up by us making a bad decision kind of moments over the course of development, and they were always important changes that needed to be made.
Basement key.
Yeah, I ended up being pretty happy with this. This is the only picture of Lonnie that we had for a really long time, and I was really glad to actually come up with something that we liked, since this kind of thing is really hard, especially when it is such a major character. The other thing is, Lonnie has a cross necklace. She also has some Catholicism in her family.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I don't think that particular detail has been called out by anybody. People notice like the Bibles and whatnot, but yeah, I intended for Lonnie, like I thought it would be interesting if she came from a more conservative family than Sam's, in that she actually wears a cross necklace and carries some, Catholicism with her, and her dad was an army guy, and, her background is even in some ways maybe kind of more stifling than Sam's, and that's probably why she's a more like openly rebellious person on the outside.
It was the basement. Oh, I don't like lightning. The dad's office. That one. I hate the basement.
I feel like one of the best bits of advice was actually from the Fulbright team before going in to do the first recording. And it was a suggestion that I should watch some episodes of My So-Called Life, which was great because I'd watched them all when when they were actually on. It was one of those favorite shows my sister and I would sit down and watch every week. And so going back and watching them was definitely not a hard chore to have to do. So I basically went through all of the episodes I could find online in a couple of days. So it was a bit of a sudden binge watch of My So-Called Life, but it was great because I think watching My So-Called Life was a nice reminder of what a more natural presentation of a teenager is. So it was really, I don't know that it would have gone as well had I not done that.
basement.
Composing the ambient exploration tracks definitely ended up being the weirdest part of creating music for Gone Home. The audio diaries tended to take precedence since they had such clear criteria for completion, so the ambient tracks were the last things I did. I spent so long immersed in the logs, which were very specifically timed, that to suddenly shift gears to creating these slow, standalone 5-minute pieces was surprisingly difficult. I remember giving Steve a first stab at the ambient track for part 2 of the game, and I didn't hear anything back about it. When I eventually asked if he had any feedback, he said something like, "Oh yeah, it's great, I just slowed it down by 50% and it totally works," which cracked me up, because I definitely didn't have that in mind. But that's one of the great things about collaborative work, so I just went with it. I ended up doing a number of further revisions where I'd alter elements of the original version specifically to affect how the 50% slowed version would sound. It was definitely a new experience for me, writing bits of music and trying to imagine how they would sound after it's been considerably distorted. It got weirder though. The ambient track for part 1 ended up being a backwards version of the slowed down part 2 track. And again, there were elements that sounded good at 50% slow forwards, but not at 50% slow backwards. So again, I went back to the original track and started altering elements so they would sound better at half speed in reverse. I don't know if that's a thing ambient composers end up getting used to, but for me it definitely felt like going down the rabbit hole.
Sorry guys, that was an accident.
One of the larger assets that we needed for the basement to really give it character and personality was a furnace. And when we were initially thinking of the furnace, Steve had mentioned to me the furnace from Home Alone, which if you grew up in the 90s like I did, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I did a lot of research and looked up stuff that could kind of evoke a similar feeling, and we finally settled upon octopus furnaces, which are like, they're thematically and time-wise very appropriate. They're these giant hulking monstrosities with all these arms covered in asbestos. Really perfect, so we ended up modeling one of those and put it in the corner, and I think it turned out okay.
Yes, the Home Alone. His face is gone. Richard Greenbrier, Professor Literature of English. Someone had a fit. The accidental savior, Terence. Dear Terence, thank you for sending along a copy of your newly published book and author's first published manuscript. I read it this afternoon, and I certainly recognize my own son in the subject matter. And author work is externalization of that which he holds dear, and that which he feels. And in this respect, I believe your work was successful, but the lens through which the personal shown was needlessly clouded by general clutches of implausible I don't do politics. Your book or literature, I'm not very. I don't do, yeah. I'm kind of scared to move forward.
Oh man, this thing.
So 2 things. 1, Mom's Canadian.
Yay!
2, Mom didn't start out Canadian. The reason that Mom is Canadian is because Kate Craig and Emily Carroll are Canadian, and early on in the development of the game, Emily did Mom's handwriting.
This is before she did any.
There was a little bit of concern on my part before any of this got started that you never know how much liberty you're going to be given and how much over direction you're going to get, because somebody hears it like a specific way, and if you deviate from that at all, you're just going to keep doing the line over and over and over again, like 50 times until it's right. So I really wasn't sure what to expect, but even on the first day getting in there and being able to go through a few of the lines and just give them what came to mind, and seeing how closely I think everyone was on the page about it. So the direction was always really positive, and it was always kind of coming from either additional information that changed the context of what I was reading, or a certain change in the phrase.
Putback is the feature that I'm happiest with in the game. It actually came about as sort of a little bit of an accident. Playtesters told us they didn't want to feel like
Sadness.
some kind of
Tell stories,
horrible
tell
person
things,
rummaging around.
self.
You know, there was kind of this intellectual, cross-cultural, like pen pal thing that happened before the internet. You know, we used to write letters back and forth to each other about our ideas and about how we wanted to change things. And so a bunch of these women that I mentioned came up with this idea of Riot Girl, of being a punk rocker that was also an in-your-face feminist.
Wonder if I can get a flashlight. Music room. We haven't been through that door yet, but that's dining, greenhouse, laundry, kitchen, pantry, washroom. That's a washroom there, that's a closet. Living room. Read letter.
So there's this little scrap of paper that's hidden under this bedside table, and you start to read it, and then Katie makes you stop reading it. And it was this thing where it's an exception to the interactive expectations that you have. Like, it's one place, I guess the one place where we really impinge on your ability as a player to do what you want. And Katie intervenes, basically, and it was something that I thought was an interesting little one-off way of emphasizing the difference between the player and the character that they're playing as. And to you as a player, the note's just a note, but a reminder that, like, Sam is Katie's sister, and Katie wouldn't want to read this thing, and she's not going to keep doing it, even if you want her to.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna get copyrighted so badly, so there's a door this way. Oh god, that pipe.
Fanzines, I mean, that's one of the things that we started doing right away, was doing these Riot Girl fanzines, and everyone would contribute and write, an article for it, and then we'd compile it and make these Riot Girl fanzines, and we would mail them out to people. I mean, all this is so funny to talk about it before the internet, but we used the mail, and people would write. We had a P.O. box, and we started getting letters, because people would read in someone else's fanzine, there's this Riot Girl thing that started happening, right? And it just, it was the most incredible thing. It just snowballed. Girls wanted to be a part of it immediately across the country, right? So from the time we started Heavens to Betsy in 1991, I think it was only a year later, right? So 1 year of Riot Girl meetings and these letters happening and these fanzines happening. Well, a year later, we left on the Riot Girl tour, the Heavens to Betsy Bratmobile Riot Girl tour,
from
Potato chips.
Olympia
Pizza box.
to DC. Well, for some reason it took us like almost 5 weeks to get there on this tour. And we ended up staying in DC another something like 5 weeks before the Riot Girl convention that happened. So that all of this, you know, all of these fanzines, all these girls across the country started getting interested in Riot Girl, and the press just went bananas. I mean, the press attention was off the
That's this
New York
comic book
Times,
right here.
USA Today. All these journalists wanted information and wanted to interview all of us. And it was crazy. So by the time we got to the Riot Girl convention, suddenly we were truly part of a movement.
So earlier in an earlier version of the story in Gone Home, Sam and Lonnie got caught together, and Lonnie's dad was like an ass.
Katie, you know how Mom and Dad are. Not exactly super open-minded about things.
Then
It feels
nunnery.
like every minute I don't spend with Lonnie, I spend worrying about them finding out about us. And what would happen if they did? You know Dad's joke about the nunnery that he'd tell whenever he brought boys around the old house? I wonder where he'd want to send me.
So earlier in an earlier version of the story in Gone Home, Sam and Lonnie
Skull
got
was the
caught
coolest thing I've
together,
ever
and
actually done. It was
Lonnie's
like $3.
dad
I love
was
it. Merry Christmas, miss you.
like an
Oh, that's
asshole
the
about
skull.
it and threatened to send Lonnie to live with her mom in Florida. And we cut that. It was too melodramatic and it wasn't really interesting. It was an external force that was acting on them, which I wasn't super excited about in practice and so on and so forth. But it caused there to be this concept of Lonnie's mom living in Florida, which
Florida is, of course, the worst place that you can live.
Well, let's not assume.
Sci-fi one in
But
Florida.
that said, it's the other side of the country, and it's totally
Yeah.
so foreign from Oregon and everything. Also, it's where I grew up.
Yeah, that was. Well, I
So
was kidding.
so yes, the reason I think that Lonnie's mom lives in Florida is that I grew up in Florida, and I moved from Florida to Oregon when I was like 19, and I've been back to visit, but if someone were to say to me, "Hey Steve, do you want to go back and live in Florida?" I would take a sheet of notebook paper and I would write no on it as big as you can get and
With
hand it back to
gravestones.
you. There would be knives, there would be
Yeah.
gravestones, there would be
Dead
lightning,
face. Yeah.
big X's in the eyes, vampire teeth for some reason.
I was largely unfamiliar with Florida, and my family started going there every once in a while, or when I was like in high school for Christmas, because my mom hates being cold, and
Pick the wrong goddamn
but-
place to live,
I
Mrs.
know.
Zamanja.
Yeah, well, but anyway, the only thing that I remember basically is that everybody had lawn flamingos, and we went around Christmas, so I remember hearing on the radio multiple times dogs barking Christmas carols. That's Florida.
Florida sounds cooler than I remember it being.
In my head, that's Florida, right there.
Alright, Goose.
When you put out any sort of content about your game online, whether it's screenshots or whether it's gameplay or anything along those lines, you're sort of at the mercy of the internet, and you sort of want to see what people are going to respond to, whether it's positive or negative. Hopefully it's positive. But we put out the screenshot a while back of the TV room, among other screenshots, and there's lots of wonderful comments, and I was really happy about that. But one of the comments that I saw a couple of times was people talking about how greasy this pizza box was. Something I hadn't noticed, so I went back and I checked it. It's a very greasy pizza box. Maybe Sam's into deep dish pizza, who knows? But I'm glad we didn't change it. I'm glad we kept it just as gross as it always was. Like it.
long time, the kitchen was not going to be mid-renovation the way that it is. And it's one of those things that I think that necessity, a production constraint, actually made this part of the house better than it would have been if we could have just done whatever we wanted. Because for a long time we were like, okay, it's just going to be a kitchen, and so we're going to need a bunch of food, which we ended up making, and we're going to need a bunch of appliances, and we're going to need a bunch of, utensils, and a block with kitchen knives in, and all.
I asked Lonnie what she had to do to get ready to ship out for basic training. She said, not a lot, really. You're not allowed to bring anything with you. You have no possessions, no contact with the outside world while you're in basic. You just train hard every day, and then you deploy from there.
Man.
So, they'll just send her away. To who knows where. The other side of the country, the other side of the world. My mind, can't process it. She's really going to be gone.
I thought this was gonna be
just
a book.
gone.
It's kind of like a gossip, walk around and explore game.
Definitely the second half was where a lot more of the emotional weight in the character came out, and that was a lot to handle, but a lot of fun to do too, because I've really not gotten to do a character that actually was so, I guess, emotionally real and so human. It's sort of, you're not doing some commercial selling you thing, or not doing some sort of sci-fi fantasy world sort of story.
Lonnie had her going away show with her band tonight. She's so incredible on stage. When she was singing, I could practically forget everything. That we only had 48 hours left. That I don't know what comes next. That I can't live without her. Then she dedicated the last song to me. And I couldn't take it. I was out on the curb in the alley, sobbing till my ribs hurt. I would follow her anywhere, Katie. But I can't. Where she's going. After a long time, she found me. She said she was sorry. She said, I wish things could be different. I just wanted to make you happy. I said, I don't think you can anymore.
Oh, wow.
So that was probably
My window in the back.
probably the hardest one we had to record. It was part of the second batch of recording we did. And so I had the script a few days before we did the recording to kind of read through it all and get a feel for where the story was going. And then we'd met for lunch to go over everything and see if I had any questions before we went into the studio. And I just right away admitted, yep, some part of this script here, I'll be honest, one of these totally had me crying, straight up, totally couldn't help it.
Any other way.
Figuring I had my cry out, it's good. I'll be fine.
Someday
Get to the recording, it'll be great. Get it out of your system. And as soon as I read the first word, I was like, no, oh God, I'm gonna start crying again. It's gonna be great. Hey, I'm a professional voice actress in the studio. I'm gonna totally bawl all of your lines, and it's gonna sound ridiculous and terrible. And we're gonna have to do the take again, and it's gonna sound even worse because now I'm crying. So it actually ended up being one take.
Really early on, I thought it would be, something that I thought would be engaging about Gone Home would just be finding notes and scraps in unexpected places and being able to, zoom in really far and find something that's tucked away in someone's pocket or whatever. And yeah, finding a note that was in someone's pocket that had gone through the dryer, I thought would just be a cool image. And so we were always going to do this, and we ended up making it this specific note from Lonnie to Sam, which it wasn't this for a long time.
Yeah, we had a few different go-rounds.
It was the one that's in the garbage can in the garage was here for a long time, and this one didn't exist, and there was no note in the garbage can in the garage. But yeah, I think that this note, this is I think the last note that went into the game.
It was really late.
And like the last new content, you know, that went into the game, because we did our final like pre-release playtest, and there were people that were kind of like, I felt like Lonnie's decision came out of nowhere at the end.
Jazz.
And you know, I was like, why, you know, why is that? And I think it's because Lonnie had never gotten to say her piece, you know, and never gotten to have that moment of saying, I wish things were different and I want to be with you and I don't want to have to go away. But we've just made the assumption that that's how it's got to be. To give you some context for her, when she actually had to confront it, saying like, you know what, I can't live with it being that way. And so this was her chance to speak just from her own perspective about why she felt like she had no choice in the matter. And then what she was deciding against when she, you know, changed her mind when she finally had to like ship out. We didn't really give Kate very specific direction for this. She gave us some
pictures,
some reference for us to
door.
approve and everything, but when we put it into the game, not a request from us at all. Looking
Midnight June,
at the struts.
We agreed our last night together would be our happiest ever, and we'd forget tomorrow was going to come at all. It worked for a while. We had a good time seeing Oscar off, then ran up to the attic to look through our photos, to find one for Lonnie to take with her. And looking at them, I realized they were all in the past, and there wouldn't be any more. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I cried. And she held me. She said she knew it was hard, but life would move on.
This is sad.
I said I didn't want my life to keep moving without her. That's when she cried too. I was so exhausted. I must have fallen asleep like that, in her arms. In the morning, I woke up. And I was finally alone.
Aww.
So you want to talk about this fucking jazz mug?
Nobody wants to talk about the jazz mug.
Well,
it's
except
the
for
worst.
Carla.
I hate it. It's the worst.
that was such a common theme
Yeah.
when we were like approving assets or making stuff visually for Gone Home, is just like, oh my god, that's hideous. I fucking hate it. We're putting it in the game.
Yeah,
Because like
so
just
much
like
of that.
awful '90s furniture and like
we see it in a secondhand store or like
or you
just
see
on
it
the
in the
internet.
Sears catalog we
yeah,
bought, and
also
it's just
true.
like, there's so
We just
many
go like,
fucking
"Oh,
ruffles on it. I want
ugh."
to puke. Like the wicker furniture in
Yeah.
Mom and Dad's room. It's
Right.
like, that's fucking hideous.
We need it.
Guardian Jade just up above, bless this house with lots of love. So these guys are like me. Secret hidden room. Oh no. Ha! Attic key.
The fact that there are speedruns for our game makes me really happy, and the fact that, you know, that the any percent speedrun, aka you don't have to pick up anything, just get to the end as fast as possible, has basically been optimized to, I think, 47 or 48 seconds. Even just watching that speedrun is really fun because you see the player optimize, like, for instance, the fastest speedruns, they don't turn on any lights because it would take a fraction of a second to turn towards the light switch and turn it on and then turn back to the direction they wanted to go. And, you know, they just kind of, like, strafe past things and don't even change direction to move through the house. And then, yeah, the 100% Diaries speedrun is even more interesting because players use that secret knowledge to play the game totally out of order based on a strategy for, okay, what's the most efficient way to go to these 24 points in the game.
Like spatially, so it's like this it's the salesman, problem or something, where it has to go to all these different points, and
Basically, the speed run is going
Yeah,
to the
and so
stairs,
seeing,
get the
seeing
attic
someone
key,
think
and go.
about the house in a totally different way and a strategic way that is about this player created challenge that says, oh, okay, if I go into the basement first, then back out and into the east wing, then don't even go into the west wing until after, and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool to see that stuff evolve, and I'm really glad that we didn't make it so, for instance, you had to read the note about the secret door before you could even click on the secret door, because it would have shut down so many of those opportunities for people to play in interesting ways and express their mastery over the space that they've gained by playing the game.
Interesting. So I could just go in, go through the secret door, get the key, and run up here. Red lights are on. Do not enter when red lights are on. Don't jump scare me, I swear to fucking God.
You want to talk about a place for Christmas Duck?
This is where Christmas Duck goes.
Oh, it's Christmas Duck's little house.
It's his little house. That's where he goes. He goes into it.
There was something that I always assumed would happen. I know that some people did do it because we got tweets, like on the day of release or whatever, of people referring to this.
Right.
But kind of based on the gnome in Half-Life 2 Episode 2
Half-Life
or
2
whatever.
Episode 2.
And just a general, I think, instinct to take the first kind of personified thing that you encounter and
drag it around the house with
yeah,
you.
like try to take it to the end of the, take it all the way there with you or whatever. I knew that some people were going to take Christmas Duck all the way from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, and that we needed to pay that off somehow. I used the putback system that in almost all cases is just used to, okay, you pick up a Kleenex box and now you can put it back where you got it. But in reality, I can put one of those putback triggers anywhere in the game that I want. So there's one putback trigger for Christmas Duck where you initially pick him up, and then I put another putback trigger for Christmas Duck here. But yeah, if you bring Christmas Duck up here, you get Katie's interaction prompt that says, "There you go, Christmas Duck," and you put him back in his little nest, and he gets to go back to his home at the end of the game.
Good old Christmas Duck.
Sam and Lonnie. I always remember what we had. Kick ass, strong, stay strong. I love you, Lonnie.
I think this is one where I love the way the music makes it so uplifting. Because it starts out in this very,
Army.
sad point where it's sort of just like, you kind of don't know what, I don't know, to me it was very emotionally ambiguous in a sense. I mean, she's saying like, oh my God, I can't believe it, like something's happened, something's gone wrong. And as she kind of unravels the story about how she missed the first two calls, which then take you right back to one of the first things you probably do when you get in the house was find the voice recorder. So I love how it loops it around, and then it starts building this positive feeling of like how this isn't the end, and we are going to see each other again, and there's this wonderful elation that she sort of dawns on in a funny way, and that it's just it.
All right.
It's one of those things where we had always wanted to. Well, we had wanted to pay off Sam's darkroom by letting you go in it and see photos that she had taken. And B, this started from a point of me just being like, oh, we'll end the game the same way we ended Minerva's Den. It'll be fine. But between those two things, we initially figured we were signing up for photos that would have taken a lot of time and effort to make, of like it's one of those things where we had always wanted to, well, we had wanted to pay off Sam's. So this is the last room in the game, or at least the last room chronologically in the story.
You made
it. You did it. This is where you find Sam's journal that you have been hearing diary entries from, and it's revealed, or I guess implied retroactively, that the game has been taking place in a flashback, basically, and Katie read Sam's diary that was addressed to her and is now thinking back to what she saw in the house. So thanks for playing through with commentary mode and listening to us and Yanman
Commentary
and
mode was
Kate
fun.
and Sarah Grayson and Chris Remo and Corin Tucker from Heavens to Betsy and Slater Kinney, who, again, thank you to her for taking her time to...
Do not read if you're
Katie,
not Katie.
I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all this myself. But I hope as you read this journal and you think back, that you'll understand why I had to do what I did. And that you won't be sad, and you won't hate me.
Kill herself?
And you'll just know that I am where I need to be.
Oh, she went to the
I
army.
love you so much, Katie.
Went
I'll
to
see
the
you
army.
again. Someday. Love, Sam.
She went in the army to see Lonnie. That's adorable. Well, guys, that has been Gone Home. Hopefully by the Fulbright Company, who Steve and Carla and Jonathan and Kate all created. Thank you to them. Starring Sarah Grayson and Sarah, I can't read your name, Amelia, as Katie and as Sam. This was a cute little game. Thank you for making it. I couldn't figure out I kept looking at the magic eye things and I couldn't figure those out. This music is louder than me. That's a major problem. But thank you for making the game. I left all the music on in the house. It probably automatically turned off after a while. So I have a few more games for us to play. Then we can watch the credits. I have a few more games for us to play. We can continue tomorrow, probably. Tomorrow is Sunday. Today is Saturday. We are doing every one of my videos, almost every one of my videos. It's gotten louder. I should make it be quiet. Special thanks to all of these people. Oh, and Henry, yeah, Uncle Henry. Our families and friends for their unending support and encouragement. Cats, Orion. I thought there was one cat. Mittens. Thanks for playing. What a lovely ending. Thanks for playing. Well, I could probably do this in 40 seconds, but I don't want to. Oh, that's symbolizing that they got back together. Symbolizing they got back together. So Sam went to the army to find Lonnie and to find Lonnie. Okay. That's what this game was about. And I thought I was going to walk into here thinking that this was a horror game and she left that one light on. Well, it wasn't a horror game. It was a nice little game. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. It was a long one. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you are new to the channel and want to see more random content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Black screen. You can still listen to me talk. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Have a great day, night, whenever you're watching.